I've got a story if anyone is interested. I recently typed it out. Happened to me and a friend a few years back. It's pretty long, 5 parts, but I'll start dumping it now. Me and my friend, 15. Chilling out on his property one fine day, ways away from anyone or anything. 6,000 acres to fuck around on, anything is possible. It's around 1 in the afternoon, decide to go for a drive down to his cattle paddock, pass through gate to a massive flat paddock surrounded by trees, goes on forever. Tells me there's a too spooky old house sitting on his property down a trail we're checking out. Literal.gif. Cruising down trail in ute, house appears in the distance. Friend idles up to it slowly as he gives me the rundown on this place. Tells me they were renting it out to some old bloke, weird guy, who died in there a few years ago. Broad daylight, so adventure mode kicks in. Get out of ute and approach this dump. It's falling to fucking pieces, gives off the worst vibe, air literally feels cooler in its presence. Remove front door that is half off the hinges, light piercing through cracks in the roof and boards in the windows. Dank and dusty as fuck in here, messing with my lungs. Tell mate to go on ahead, go back to ute to grab my bottle of water. Sitting in ute with door open, drinking my water, observing creepy ass shack. All of a sudden mate comes flying out the front door, the expression on his face made me feel physically ill. Never seen a human being look so fucked up and disturbed. He was pale as all shit and had a soul-crushing look on his face. Jumps straight into the ute and fires it up and we begin reversing dramatically. Ask him, what the fuck anon, what's wrong you good man? Stop. We're good. Doesn't respond, just keeps reversing until we spin around and take off back up the trail. Sitting in silence, shit got real. We're absolutely hammering it up this trail, took us half the time to get back to the paddock as it did getting down to that house. We come to a sudden stop as my mate pierces us through the tree line back onto the open paddock from which we came. Ute slides to a stop as we're side on looking down back down the trail. The silence is intense, my mind is racing wondering what is happening. Look over to my friend, still looks shocked as all fuck. Slowly turns to me, lifeless expression. I ask, dude you're actually scaring me, what the fuck happened? Says after I went back to the ute he made his way into the lounge room and started examining all the shit in there as it was scattered all over the joint. Said he approached the old couch in the middle of the room facing an old broken TV set. Takes a break for a few seconds, he still wasn't all there in the head. I started looking down the trail as my heart sank, I just knew he was going to say something fucked up. He went on to say there was an old mirror laying in front of the couch and he went over to pick it up because it looked insanely clean to be in that old dump. Reckons when he picked it up and looked into it after a few seconds he noticed the old man over in the corner, jerking about and his face distorting in ways no one could imagine. Horrible shit he says. Says all of a sudden he came flying at him, mate still watching it happen in the mirror all over a few seconds. Says he threw the mirror down and piss bolted out of there, hearing a disgusting cry as he went flying back out the front to me. I heard nothing, that's the fucked up part. I'm sitting there stunned from hearing that shit, trying not to make eye contact with the trail. Freaking the fuck out at this point, we're sitting in silence for a few moments. Friend fucking pukes out the window of the ute out of nowhere. Tell him to get in the fucking passenger seat, I'm getting us back home. As I'm about to start the ute to take off my friend yells wait, fucking scared me half to death. I reply what? What is it? He's just staring back down the trail. At that point I had goosebumps and was feeling very overwhelmed. Dead quiet too, not one sound. All of a sudden, he jerks his head back around to me and yells drive, drive. Flip my shit and punch it. Dangerously hooning through this paddock back towards the gate. As I'm driving yell what the fuck? To him. He's literally crying, saying he can smell rotting meat / flesh, pukes out the window again. I smell nothing, air as fresh as a daisy. Freaking the fuck out, get to gate, scream at him to jump out and open it, he just sits there. Anon open the fucking gate. Just looks at me blankly. Adrenaline kicks in and I jump out, open it, jump back into the ute and take off up towards the house, leaving the gate wide open. Fuck it. Get back inside his yard, stop ute and sit there in silence for about a minute. I wait for him to say something but he doesn't. So I say, dude, stop fucking around, are you alright? What the fuck is going on, man? He starts to look a bit better, just looking at me in shock, but his color is back in his face. Says when we were sitting at the trail an overwhelming stench of death wafted over him, said it was unbearable. Told him I didn't smell a thing, I'm confused and panicky as shit. We park the ute and walk down to the fence around his yard and stare down towards the paddock. Tells me he's fucking petrified and he wants to come stay with me for a few days. We were out there alone and his parents wouldn't be back for a few more days. Tell him I definitely agree and I didn't want to stay there overnight anyway, I live back in town. Go inside his house and ring my mom, she arrives 2 hours later to pick us up. Longest wait of our lives. When she arrives we just act normal, get in the car and go. Talking about it when we get back to my place in town. We're calm now so we can discuss it better and try and figure out what the fuck happened at that place. Have a good chat about it and then drop it for a while to do normal shit. Fast forward 2 days, friend has been staying with me. Get a call from his parents, they're home. Tells us he needs to come home ASAP, he's in trouble. Why? The gate I left open, it had been ripped off its post and was in the middle of my friend's fucking yard, I shit you not. I go silent and just pass him the phone, thinking to myself, sadly, I'm so glad I'm not you right now, bro, so glad. Watching him on the phone as his face returns to the color it was when I first saw him run out of that shack. Head falls in my hands, this is not happening, how the fuck could it be? He hangs the phone up, says he's got to go home, tell him I understand. His parents come to pick him up and he leaves. I sit in my room eagerly awaiting him to sign on to Skype. When he finally does he says the gate was scratched to shit, it's made of heavy wood and was laying where I had initially parked the ute after our mad dash back to the yard. Silence. Just no words for this situation. Tell him it'll be alright, could have been some hick that occasionally comes to pinch his star pickets. He agrees, and sounds like he's trying to convince himself. End call. Fast forward again, about 2 to 3 days. After all that I was just glad to be home, and I didn't communicate with my friend too much in those days because he freaked me out pretty bad. Phone rings, I answer, it's him. Tells me instantly that the half-hinge door we ripped off to enter that place is back on the hinge. I don't want to hear this shit anon, please. Keep saying, dude, it's back on the fucking hinge, over and over. Ask him how he even knows this? Did his stupid ass go back there? Tells me he went for a cruise down to the paddock with his dad to feed cattle, and his dad went to collect something from the shack that had been there for ages. Says he was fucking terrified but didn't tell his dad anything and just went along with it, since he was with his dad etc. Said he nearly passed out when they pulled up to the house and the door was back on the hinge, half off just as it previously was. Said he panicked and stayed in the car. His dad got out and went around the back of the house to collect an old step ladder, and was only gone a few minutes. Told me he freaked out when his dad walked out the front door of the shack, nearly gave him a heart attack. His dad put the shit in the tray of the ute and got back in before he could start it up and drive off. My friend said he asked him why he came out the front of the house. He would have used the old back door. Said he needed to check on something in the shack that he was concerned about. Friend musters up the courage to ask him what. Said his dad said the old man was a good friend of his that went a bit strange though in his older years. Said after his wife died he went batshit crazy and died of a stroke or some shit. Said he wanted to check if his wife's mirror was still in the lounge room where he last saw it. Said it was dear to the old man, only thing he had left of his wife. Friend starts crying to me over the phone. Says his dad said it was still there, right where it's always been, sitting in front of the lounge chair where the old man died with it in between his feet. Silence. Friend is crying and I'm just sitting in shock as my spine begins to tingle. My face when that mirror broke when my friend threw it down at the ground before he ran.